Meeting follow-up. Does anybody have anything for a follow-up? Last meeting? Zulema, do you have anything?
I do not, Mayor.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's talk about the school court or safety follow-up.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So in late August, or so it's been a few months, council and city leadership received an email from a concerned citizen regarding the Poplar corridor and safe routes to school, essentially. Unfortunately, this particular citizen had a young son who was struck by a vehicle when on his bicycle crossing Poplar Street. And thankfully, he suffered a broken arm and no more severe injury than that. But she was very concerned, given that school was now back in session, about the safety of that particular stretch of Poplar and kids who would need to cross it to get either to Crest Hill or, in some cases, back over to Southridge Elementary School. And so in response to that concern, and again, given that school had recently started, our City Streets and Engineering Division wasted no time to go out and evaluate, and in fact, decided to implement a marked crosswalk with signage and painting, and that was done pretty quickly, in fact, by Thursday, September 4th, 2025. However, when we get concerns like this, there is an extensive evaluation process that goes into effect that incorporates, traffic counts and vehicle accident data within the corridor. And then these experts kind of analyze what should be done in that corridor to improve safety. And so if it pleases the mayor and the council, I would like to invite Andrew Beamer, our interim public services director, and/or Alex Speed, our city engineer, up to sort of walk council through what that process looks like and ultimately what the final recommendation and implementation for this Poplar stretch was.
Awesome.
Evening, Mayor, councilors. Hello. Generally, a marked crosswalk is may be warranted at intersections with substantial conflict with between vehicles and pedestrians, and or at mid-block locations with higher pedestrian volumes and or controlled traffic movements. Metrics typically, like Zulema said, we do analyze these areas, and the metrics typically include accidents, surrounding land uses, traffic volumes, speeds, patterns, and the geometric corridor in that location. And so obviously a clearly marked dedicated pedestrian crosswalk with high visibility allows safe routes for both pedestrians and vehicles. But this particular crosswalk, being that it lies approximately mid-corridor along South Poplar between Wyoming Boulevard and 25th Street. Accidents occurred at this specific location at a higher frequency at this intersection, and pedestrian connectivity from the east to the west was lower, really in this area along Poplar. So, our staff, in looking at it, felt that this crosswalk was warranted, generally because it was needed in this area. And we did have the ability to get traffic counts there. We also had help with the Casper Police Department in getting accident record data. And all of those combined, we felt that the need to act and put in a crosswalk at that location, clearly visible crossings there. We do know that there's two schools that are in that area, with the residential area being Southridge and Crest Hill Elementary Schools. And so that pedestrian connectivity from the east to the west, from those neighborhoods to the schools, felt that it was a good location to put it at, and also being at a higher frequency of accidents within that corridor.
Questions? What direction is? Sorry, go ahead.
Mayor, so it's just, I don't know if you'll quite get to this later, but I did have one question in the memo. It talked about the South Poplar Street and Granada Avenue intersections have the most recorded accidents. Were those necessarily vehicle, is all the data vehicle pedestrian, or is some of it just vehicle only?
Most of it is vehicle only. There was really the one incident that that particular parent had contacted you about.
Yeah.
That was, I believe, the only pedestrian vehicle accident
At that
at that
intersection?
location.
Yeah, and so just my casual observation, because I used to live in that area, was that, there's that intersection is, if you're going west on Granada onto going to turn left, turn right rather on Kaufman going toward 25th. It's kind of a, I don't remember if it's bushes or fence or both, but it's just kind of it's a tough, because I have other friends who still live in that side of Kaufman, and they mention it frequently about, having to, how far they have to pull out just to see around that. And I don't remember whether it's fence or shrubs or tree or both, some of both. I just don't remember. Yeah. Oh, did you? Yeah, on that corner. Yeah.
This is at the Granada and Poplar.
This is at the Granada Poplar. Yeah, I'm sorry. I said Kaufman, Kyle? I'm sorry. Yeah, Poplar. I meant Poplar. So coming west on Granada, turning right on Poplar. Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to confuse you.
The questions. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update.
I take it we've connected with the person that.
So certainly that individual knows that the crosswalk was installed and seems to be pleased, but we will circle back around and ensure that she knows that at this point, that's all that will be done in that corridor. But it is worth mentioning, it was in the memo, that we are currently in our Safe Routes to School study update. And so this corridor, as well as one other on Whispering Springs that's been recently reported to us, which you all will hear about pretty soon, the outcome of that one, have been included in that Safe Routes study. So it can be evaluated as part of that exercise as well.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were done with Alex. I did have one more question. I don't think this study incorporated this. I'm pretty sure. But that section of Poplar Street between to Collins, I know there's that 13th Street light, and there is a crosswalk with a pedestrian activated crosswalk. Do you know offhand, or that is, I would think that would be a relatively safe stretch of Poplar Street to cross. But do you know if there's other data about? I was principal when McKinley was on that, where Cottonwood is now, and we're constantly having to remind the kids, because they were living on the east side of Poplar in those like Chestnut, over in those streets over there, coming west and to cross Poplar Street to go to McKinley. And we were constantly having to remind them to go to the crosswalk, but they kept insisting on trying to, or if they were new, sometimes they would insist on crossing in the middle of the street without a crosswalk and without a controlled intersection. Do you recall, or do you know offhand if there's any elevation pedestrian car encounters along that stretch?
I don't know of any,
Okay.
but I am sure that there are records that we can find accident that we can look at in that area.
Okay, well, don't go to that. I haven't been contacted. I don't know if other council members have, but I was just curious if you knew offhand. So.
I don't. There's no doubt much heavier traffic on that north leg from
Yeah.
CY on Poplar, and it dissipates a little bit as you go to the south.
Sure. And sometimes there were kids crossing that stretch of Poplar, going east, crossing Poplar to go to, like, say, Park, and so on and so forth. So, okay, but don't go to any trouble. So, thank you. I was just curious.
Any other questions for Alex? Yeah, go ahead.
So Mayor, I would say, at least in this instance, we can certainly report that back to Stan Tech, our consultant for safe routes to school.
Okay.
Okay. I said it and then I second guessed myself, but, and then they can incorporate that in the comments and the analysis.
Thank you. Absolutely, I appreciate that.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep. All right. Legislative calendar.
Thank you, Mayor. So city staff believes that it's in the city's best interest to stay really informed about and active when it comes to legislation that could impact municipalities and especially the city of Casper. And so, of course, as you know, we've been seeing a lot of impactful legislation over the last couple of years, especially a lot of activity that needs to be tracked. And we realize that this is a pretty big task for just one individual. And so the city has recently put together a team of watchdogs, so to speak, of legislative activities made up of representatives from every city department and led by our chief of staff, Fleur Tremmel. And so as part of that team initiative, we have also put together a legislative calendar. You've seen one like it in the past. This one is slightly more robust. And so I would like to have Fleur explain to council sort of what they can expect in terms of the legislative calendar and then answer any questions that you may have or certainly take direction if you have it regarding our efforts when it comes to legislative initiatives and staying involved and ready to testify when the time comes.
Your Honor, members of the council. So as you can see, there's the legislative calendars up on the screen for you, as you all have it in your packet. This was designed, I think we originally started a couple years ago, in order to help us coordinate with WHAM and the legislature and get us all on the same page. Similar to our budget calendar, it just provides a structured annual process for us to promote consistency, coordination, and for us to be prepared for the legislative session. So some of the key phases you'll see on there, we're in fall, and that is our planning and preparation stage, which kind of culminates in our legislative dinner in January, where we invite our Natrona County delegation to dine with council and go over our priorities. And then the legislative session starts in February and goes through March. This year will be a budget session, so the bills that will be introduced are limited to mostly budget items with and some others with a 2/3 vote to get in. So it should be less than we've seen in last year. And then after the post session, we'll start roughly from March to April and go ongoing from there, where we will have WHAM regional meetings to go over priorities for the following year. Some expected outcomes are just helping us to stay engaged and informed and ensuring early identification of opportunities and challenges for the city. So at this time, if you have any questions on this or clarifying things you'd like to see on the calendar, I'm happy to take those now.
Questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. So, when would you take council input as far as what our agenda is going to be for the legislative dinner? When would that start?
So that should be December. Usually we start that. So it says early December legislative agenda setting. So usually staff gets together, puts together items and brings it to council. And then we form that pamphlet that we present at the dinner in January. So in the past, so last year dinner was like the 10th or around there of January. This year might be a little bit farther out because we like to do it right before they start. And this year they're not starting until February because it's budget session.
And we'll watch the legislative calendar as far as like appropriations, which would affect Alamand. They typically, I don't know what they'll do this year, but typically meet first couple of weeks of January. But
And we'll also have the WHAM Winter Workshop is the 11th through the 13th this year. And at that meeting, that's where our board member and the voting delegate will be able to take council's priorities and present it to WHAM.
So it needs to be after the legislative dinner here would be after WHAM.
No, our legislative dinner will be before, because that'll be for this budget session. And then on February 11th, that's for the interim
Oh,
topics.
February.
Yeah, and so that's for, they're starting it really early.
Yeah, Kyle.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Floor. I appreciate having this all mapped out so that it, helps to know kind of what our milestones are over the course of the next several months and what steps should be in front of which steps. I believe, Mayor, you spoke to Ashley at WHAM, right? Do you feel like, so I think it's really important for us to be tracking a variety of different things, especially as our city manager stated, the fact that so many of them could affect our funding. Did you get the impression that what we're doing with city staff, is there any duplication of efforts with what WHAM's doing, or is it very much a kind of hand in glove, collaborative type effort? That would be my only concern, is just making sure we're not duplicating efforts that they're already
Efforts. I mean, I would imagine that kind of how we frame it is, WHAM is our core, right? They're the ones that help us to identify and being able to use those strategic planning. I think that's really kind of what we're looking at. My understanding of what this process, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the staff will be able to be a part of, identifying that and kind of keeping on top of it. But I think WHAM is going to be the core of how we utilize them to identify the issues and taking that lead as we kind of go forward. Is that fair to say?
Yes, so I think there were some concerns with WHAM, what I heard from Ashley with our internally, but she and I spoke about it. And I think that as far as us being able to pull together that data of impacts for the city to give them talking points, I think that we've always done that, and that would be something that they would look for, and then give it to them to lobby and
Yep.
work with people to testify.
You said it much better than I did.
Mayor,
Yeah.
if I might add. The additional benefit, I think, is that each of us in our respective professions belong to professional organizations throughout Wyoming. There's WASCOP, there's WyoPass, there's the Bar Association. And so coming together internally, we can bring the perspectives of these other organizations and pretty much conglomerate them. And that helps to inform what we're communicating with WHAM. I think the intention is internally to have those discussions, to do a better job tracking, being a little more proactive, bringing these outside perspectives and then funneling them through council and then ultimately to WHAM. So,
And I would even go on to say too, right? I mean, I think like testifying and things like that, what's going to be critically important is the electeds, testify and getting out there, the leaders and that type of stuff, but also having experts being able to participate in that. And I think I just saw your hand up, sorry.
Well, and Mayor, thank you. I was gonna just kind of duplicate what he's saying, but I think a critical component is just being ready. It's being ready to be able to communicate those impacts that we feel those bills will have on us, and prepping electeds and city leadership to be ready to testify at a moment's notice if needed. And so this is really just an effort to keep us in a state of readiness to be able to respond quickly. They have been.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I really appreciate all that context. I really like the idea of these other, working more closely with the County Commissioners Association this year. But like you said, there's other city, I don't know if Zulima, you've been going to the city manager ones or, attorney ones. And, there's a lot of other organizations we should be collaborating with. So I'm happy to hear all that. I do just want to make sure we have really good communication with the folks at WHAM. We had the luxury of our previous city manager serving as president. So just, that connection was very close, one and the same. And so, I do my best as our board member to relay what's going on at the board and stuff. But obviously, having a city manager wear both those hats leads to some, a lot of synchrony.
And to that, talking to Ashley and a couple of others, I think Janine has played an integral part within WHAM and working hand in glove and has a really good grasp of that. So I think when Zulima and the staff get this framework prepared, so Janine can take that and then being able to utilize that experience that she has already with WHAM. So I feel comfortable, and I share that sentiment with you. that we can at least maybe try to mitigate that a little bit.
Appreciate it. I think just one more.
Yeah, you bet.
2 cents. I think probably one of Ashley's concerns was there has been times in the past where cities have not been coordinating with her and her team.
Mhm.
And so they show up essentially testifying against each other. And obviously we're going to be a lot more effective, especially since so many of the things the legislature is considering will affect all cities and towns and munis. So, just making sure we're all rowing in the same direction, I think was really a primary concern. Glad to hear it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Anything else, Fleur? Anything else, Selena? Would you like to add to that? Great. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
We have a tentative date in mind in January.
Your Honor, we do not. We're waiting for the new city manager to come to start planning that.
can I offer up, I think this has happened twice in the past that the legislative dinner has fallen on like a
Convention.
Republican Party convention or caucus or something like that.
Mindful
So
of that.
yeah, I don't want to split because then they're going to be torn about which to go to. So if we can avoid the political events, that'd be great.
Good point.
And that's a really good thing because there are dates set. There is a meeting Wednesday, January 14th.
For the Central Committee.
I think that's a recollection, Wednesday the 14th, but
Fact check it while we're sitting here.
so, but that's a really good point.
I'll look into that. Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, additional holiday, optional holiday. I don't know.
Thank you.
I'm
Mayor.
tired. It's been a very long week already. That's only
Yes.
Tuesday.
I understand. So as a longtime city employee, I knew that it's been a longstanding practice that city employees are offered an alternate holiday during the holidays, or not an alternate holiday, an additional holiday during the holidays, either Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. However, as a brand new interim city manager, I didn't necessarily know how we determined if and how we would implement that extra holiday each year. And so as we've approached the holiday season or getting closer to the holiday season, people started asking me, are we going to do this again this year? And so I had to reach out to some of my colleagues and department directors and say, well, how has the city manager gone about figuring this out in years past? And so thankfully, Tracy Belzer, our support services director, did some research for me. And it was sort of a mixed bag of findings, but essentially we found one record that the city manager had come directly to city council and sort of requested permission, but indications as recently as last year in correspondence that went out to city staff that the city manager had in fact at least discussed with council that opportunity and got the blessing of council before moving forward and then reporting that out to the city staff. And so this sort of standing practice has sort of been determined to be appropriate when both of the eves and the actual holiday fall on a weekday rather than a weekend. And so that's, if Christmas Eve was on Saturday and Christmas Day was on Sunday, then there would be generally no additional holiday that year. And then another sort of standing component of this has been that we remain open both of those eves and ensure through our internal processes that there's adequate staffing so that the citizens don't feel the impact of the additional holiday. And so my question tonight is sort of twofold. First, we are wondering, since this year the eves are on Wednesday, if council would support this longstanding practice again this year for 2025. And if so, then the second part of that question is just so that future city managers don't have to wonder how we came to this. We could use the new employee handbook, which of course went into effect October 1st, slightly modify the corresponding policy on holidays and sort of just memorialize, like, this is the process that we use to determine if there will be an additional holiday. And then that way we know moving forward exactly what that looks like and can just make the ask of council each year. There is a budget impact in terms of overtime paid for 24-hour operations and employees who may not be able to select an alternate holiday. And so, right, for 2025, that estimate is just under $25,000. Again, this has been sort of a long-standing tradition, and so generally speaking, those overtime budgets incorporate that factor in there, and so we believe that those budgets can absorb this cost and would not require a budget amendment. And of course, the hope is that as often as possible, we can give an alternate holiday to replace the one that they're missing on the eve, if need be. And so we don't expect that there would be a budget amendment from the budget impact, but we do want to be clear that there is a slight budget impact, which is really the reason why we come to council to ask for permission.
How does council feel? Everybody okay? Yep, go ahead. Think you're it, Pat?
Yeah, you bet.
So in the general fund dash fire, 15,500. So is that strictly just the fire department? And is in their contract, I just don't remember, are they line level in essence versus salary? So on those kind of holidays, do they, like, fire can't necessarily take off? Is that double time anyway, if they do have to work?
Mayor, do you mind if we call Chief Black up
Yeah.
to
Chief, can you come
help
up and answer a question for us? Would you mind repeating that for the chief?
So my question is on the 15,500 on, our firemen, firefighters, are they paid hourly to begin with versus a salary position? And isn't it normal that they get paid probably double time on some of those holidays, or time and a half? Or
Yes, sir. On holidays, they get double time, and it isn't at an hourly rate.
okay, so then back to, this would be Christmas Eve, which probably isn't considered part of that holiday. Would they also get paid just regular time on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve?
I believe the way the union contract is written is there's one optional depending on what the city decides. I would have to look at the contract on how it's worded exactly, but there is usually, typically around Christmas Eve and Christmas are determined as holidays.
Okay. And then, because I'm wondering why that line item is so expensive versus,
Needs to be the double time for folks who are working that day.
What it sounds like. Because of that, what you just said, yeah, Pat.
but I mean, aren't our snowplow drivers,
Well,
don't
fire
we
division
just,
or something.
we don't plow on Christmas Day if there's a storm?
Mayor, Counselor, we would in fact, if there was a snow event that required plows, we have them out on Christmas as well. Keep in mind, they have the choice of one or the other, and if operational need requires, we can say you have to take New Year's Eve instead of Christmas Eve. And so in most cases, one or the other choice, we can avoid the overtime in those instances. In some cases, we cannot, and that's why it's been estimated. I do believe that in the case of streets, that is also a general fund operation. So I do also believe that this top line, and forgive me, Jill Johnson, our financial services director, is actually the one that put together the financial considerations, but I believe that it includes all general fund operations, including here. Just generally speaking.
Not to just pick on the chief.
So general fund, yeah.
In general fund, we typically have a little bit more control and can reduce those overtime expenses, except for in the case of fire.
Yeah.
Mayor, so I did find the CBA language, section 10 holidays, so won't read it all, but they'll be compensated 2 times their base pay. It does state that in the event the city of Casper grants any city employees more than 11 holidays annually, employees shall be granted such additional holiday or holidays nearest to Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. Platoon employees who work on any of the above dates shall be compensated as above.
Does that answer your question, Pat?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Yeah. Any other questions? Is council okay with this and then memorializing it as well? Okay, sounds good.
Would that be done in like resolution or says any of the handbook?
Mayor, Counselor. So generally speaking, we have not passed a resolution to allow this additional holiday. The written sort of recording that I'm proposing would be in the employee handbook. In that holiday policy, we would just add a section that sort of outlines the process by which the city manager requests an additional holiday from council and what the conditions are around that.
It'll come in the form of a request every year,
Yep.
but would
How
be
you
laid
do it.
out how to do it.
Perfect.
And outlining that we have to remain open and have adequate staffing for operations. And then that piece that if the holiday is on a weekend, then we don't consider it that year.
So are we open like City Hall half day? And
We're open full business hours generally. I do remember in the Tom Forsland days, he would occasionally dismiss staff at 3 p.m., especially if it was very quiet. But generally speaking, under city manager Napier, we worked until 5 p.m.
Sounds like Carter. He's no Tom
I was going to
Forsland.
be the grandson.
Great. Thanks, Zulima. All right, let's talk about leadership and nominations. I think go ahead, I'll let you introduce our clerk.
Thank you. So it is our intention tonight to just remind and prepare council for the upcoming process of leadership selection, i.e. mayor and vice mayor. So the nomination and voting process for that, no actual action tonight, just a reminder of the process and, kind of overview of what you can expect in terms of schedule and process. And so I would like to ask Amanda Ainsworth, our city clerk, to kind of walk council through that.
Hello.
So this is just your opportunity to review the process for leadership nominations and selection, mayor and vice mayor. If you can remember, some of you were on council in 2023 and you did memorialize that process by resolution. And that's outlined in your memo, and the resolution was also attached in your packet. So we are just proposing that nominations be due the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which is November 26th. So if you want to just, you can either text me or email me your nominations, and then I will just check with each of you to see if you're willing to accept that nomination. If you're not, please decline that, which many of you do. If you're willing to accept, then we'll put your name on the ballot for vice mayor and mayor. And then during the pre-meeting on December 2nd, we will have your nominations or nominee speeches, and then the straw poll would take place during the executive session that evening. And then the formal leadership selection will take place during the first business meeting in January. So that will still be done by formal vote during that business meeting. Oh, unless there's any other questions.
questions for the city clerk? Yeah.
So nominations between the 19th and 26th for both mayor and vice mayor. And then mayor, you have indicated again,
That is my sincere hope.
In other words, he'll turn it down.
I will turn it down. There will be no option.
He has said that before.
What's that?
Said you have said that before.
Pretty
And
much
look where
every
he's
time, I
sitting.
think.
Yeah.
Very, very, forceful that way.
cookies.
That's what exactly I said.
To
that.
encourage you to vote for Pat.
Okay. I just wanted to know if you're totally opposed to it. So that was good to hear.
Yes. It's okay for change. Willing sacrifice.
Yes, I will. Please don't make me.
But I do encourage, right? Definitely, I do think it's good for different people. So I definitely am not going to entertain that. And so while I would certainly am flattered by nomination, I will decline the nomination. I do think to have good changes. But I do encourage other people interested in leadership, as always. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wait, I'm sorry, can I
Yeah.
ask?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm essentially re-asking Pat's question, but I was maybe not paying attention. The timeline for nominations, what is that?
19th through the 26th.
Are we meeting the day of the 26th? Or like, do you have up until the day that we're casting that straw poll to nominate, or do you have to get?
That's on the 2nd of December.
Yep, so the nominations are due the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That's the Wednesday before December 2nd, would be the next regular meeting. So that is, if you remember, that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, that we do not have a work session.
Okay.
We don't have. But I will be here that Wednesday. So I'll be forming the ballots that day, so that's why.
Okay, because I think that's slightly different. I thought we were doing nominations the same night we were casting votes, or am I misremembering?
Usually we have them do a little bit before so that we have time to form the ballots.
Okay.
And then people know if they're on the ballot.
Speech,
That's the
Kyle.
week
It's
where
the
she says, will you please let me put your name on the ballot? It took them a week to get us to say yes.
Because many times people decline or nobody gets any nominations, which also happens, and then I'm bothering you, saying nominated. So if we waited till the single day of.
And then it's the speech on the 2nd and then the straw poll and the executive session that night.
Did we outline in resolution, like the ability to give us, because I do remember that
Yeah.
being.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's on the
thank
And
you.
that's that's why that's during the pre-meeting.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that it's been clunky every year, so as long as we keep getting better, that's
I think
that's
that
the goal.
I think that's the reason why we're like every year is a little bit different. So I think this is what we have set, and it feels like we got it last time. I think it's going to be the same way this time as well. But you're right, Kyle. I think it was a little clunky for a few years.
This is how we did it last year.
Yep.
Which I think is
I think it's like the last couple of years we
Yep.
did it.
in 2024.
Yep. All right. Any other questions about leadership or nominations? And then agenda review. Does anybody have, or I'm going to start with you, sorry. Anything you would like to review with us?
Thank you, Mayor. So you just got a sneak preview of a couple of key things coming up on your agendas, but the agendas are built out through the end of the calendar year. So please review. Feel free to reach out to staff if there are questions, or more importantly, if there are items that are not listed on the agenda that you are expecting to see or hear about. We will continue to populate that with important topics through the end of the calendar.
Anybody have any questions about the agenda? Agendas? Yeah.
So on David Street Station lease, well, I guess it'll be in the packet, but anything odd about that? I mean, is that a regular occurrence? Because I didn't think we actually owned it. So,
Mayor, Counselor, you are correct. We own the property, we lease to David Street Station. This is an item, so this will be council's approval of an actual maintenance agreement,
oh,
an amendment to the existing lease that outlines that the city of Casper will be providing certain maintenance services to David Street Station so that we can lend them the expertise that we have on staff to help with their splash pad, their ice plant, and their irrigation. We talked to council about it. It's been several months now, but it's taken some time because of some uncertainties about what they were going to be doing with the ice rink. We've just kind of held off to see how that was going to pan out. And now that we have some answers there, we're ready to move forward with the execution of that amendment.
and then did have a question. I didn't see any place in future stuff on Stone Ridge Park. We see that sometime next year. Is that basically dead?
Mayor, councilors, so just a clarifying question, you mean the future potential sale of that property again?
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, we will take council's direction whenever you're ready to re-advertise for the potential sale of that property.
Do we want to revisit that next year? Possible work session item. We don't have to rush with it.
Well, my recollection was, yeah, that was thought, I don't know if it was, I wouldn't say it was consensus, but that it would be put out for bid, a second round of bidding, because we weren't pleased with the first two. So, Eric, I don't know if that's-
Yeah, Mayor, I mean, Counselor, I do recollect that discussion. Timing of when we did that, I think, was somewhat ambiguous. As I recall, there was some discussion around whether we did it right away or we let some time elapse. And so to the interim city manager's point, we would certainly take direction from council.
So why don't we put it on a future agenda item in the new year, and then we can kind of come back to it and address it and talk about that. Yeah.
When we do that, are you able to give us any insight as to whether or not we're allowed to include in the request anything like a minimum bid price or something like that? So we don't, if we're not willing to sell it for 50%, like why are we entertaining bids and making people spend time to go through the process? So is there a mechanism for something like that?
Good talk.
Be in the form of, it's probably the wrong word, covenant.
I think it'd have to be in the request for proposal or request for bids.
Stipulations or something like that.
Okay. Great.
Thank you. Then also, Commissioner North was wondering if he could get on a work session.
So Liam was talking to him.
Yeah, I think we have that work in the process right now.
Yep, we're working on docketing it. Generally speaking, they provide information on what they intend to present to council. And so we're just working with them to get that information.
Okay. So have we reached out to the county commission asking for that?
Yes. Yep. I've spoken with Chairman North and he said that he will provide us some information that we'll put in a traditional memo for your review.
Okay.
There's a fan running down on this end, so we're having trouble hearing that end. tables. Yeah.
You and Jenna just got nominated for this really intense committee. But you have to spend several hours.
Like, speak up. I've got this thing glowing right here.
Sorry.
I'm like, is everybody talking really quiet tonight? He said yes. So I'm like mumbling.
But the fan is, yeah.
So Pat, yes, and for that, Zulim has been on that, taking care of it. Make sure that we get him
Right
on.
now, Zoom's here.
I'll ask him to quit whining. And then
Gotcha.
And so, was on Bright Spot. I had, when I went over for a few minutes to Sage Park, thank God I was there late enough. I didn't have to do anything except eat lunch. So
Good for you, Pat.
great timing. So, but I was thoroughly impressed with the Enterprise. I mean, they brought people from Billings, the regional people from Billings, Bozeman, Denver district, and I mean, not just local, but quite a few people in, and it I think they bought lunch. I have to double check with Jolene. But, they bought the Jersey Mikes plus lended a hand with installation and
Anthony Martinez.
He was delivering.
so so I just thought some sort of recognition.
Counselor, I absolutely agree. Interesting thing about that grant is that it had some very specific rules around media and how we handle certain announcements. That's why, while I understand that there were some people who were maybe a little frustrated that more information had not gone out, we were very restricted based on the grant award on what we could put out. And we actually received, template documents that we had to follow pretty closely. And so I did visit with my staff about your recommendation and would love to do that, but we need to check and make sure that that's an appropriate thing based on the award.
So is that from Arbor Day that's restrictive or Enterprise?
I believe it's from the grantor, which is actually Enterprise, and Arbor Day is just the fiscal agent, essentially. But they were also great partners, and so there may be an opportunity to recognize both. We just want to make sure that we don't misstep.
Yeah.
So more to come on that.
Okay. I appreciate it. So,
All right, anything else, Pat?
do we, on the 250th celebration meeting up at the event center last week, but do we, and Jolene was there, obviously event center staff, and trying to think who else there was somebody else from the city. I just can't remember. Yeah, it was Nick. Nick was there. And so I didn't know if it was appropriate for council to be there, or, what to do in that instance. And that Jenna, I think a lot of good ideas came out of that meeting. I thought that would tie more in with the trails for Casper and everything. Trails need the trail center on.
I'm only half a partner.
So
So you're just asking if it was appropriate for council to be at that
Yeah.
meeting? Okay. So,
Mayor, Counselor, I see no problem with that. I think the intention is to have a large group of stakeholders throughout the community working on a coordinated effort for for what our celebration looks like community-wide. And so absolutely, I think having you there is great.
I can add to that though, that I know the museums of Casper are working on an event, getting it organized too. And I don't know that that's in partnership with the event center, which you went to. This is all the museum group, Museums of Casper group. So it's Fort Casper, Trail Center, the airport, the
Veterans Museum.
Veterans Museum. They're all in this group. And so we are discussing that. I know that. And the Nicolason and Art 321, you know, all the museums, the Tate.
Forecast.
You don't have to come up if you don't want to.
You mentioned all of them, but the
Yeah,
signs.
keep
I don't know,
listing
it's
them, will you, until you get to the end of the list.
I know, I'm like.
You left
there's
out
more.
only one.
The college, yeah. So I know that they're working separately, is what I'm saying, on
Okay.
their own.
Go ahead,
grant
Celine.
Mayor, I
for
would
that.
just say separate but together.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
That group does have representation on the larger committee, and we want to make sure that that continues, just so that any marketing that's going on related to events
Mhm.
for the 250th are all sort of in one place. I know Visit Casper is trying to lead the charge in making sure that we're
All the
letting
information.
visitors and community members know what's happening to celebrate throughout the community.
So I know Pat, the Trails Center is involved on that end.
Okay.
So like, no,
You should come to the next meeting.
I would love to,
So
if I'm invited. I
November.
didn't just show up. Like you.
That's what I
But now that we have permission.
but yeah, I think the coordination would be, but I didn't, and maybe it was an off day, but Visit Casper, Tasman Powers was there, which is part of Visit Casper, but
Sports rep.
I don't know how involved. I think they've got money set aside, Visit Casper does, but. You did the job. Nice.
I just-
All right, let's go ahead and move into around the table. Let's see. Kyle, you want to start?
At a homelessness coalition task force meeting last Wednesday, Casper PD reported significant increase in property damage the past month. They also passed around some booking sheets showing a list of the individuals who warranted the most calls for service. To give, I'm sure PD would be happy to provide y'all a copy if you're interested, but to give y'all a frame of reference, January and October 20th of this year, there were 1,238 calls for service for 32 different people. So that's an average of 39 unique incidents a month, more than one a day, for just those 32 individuals. Over half those individuals, 18 of which identify as unhoused. At the Natrona County Detention Center, 31 individuals, many of them the same, were booked for a total of 373 times, and all but 2 of them identifying as unhoused. That's an average of twice a month being incarcerated. So again, some folks that work in social services, you'll hear phrases like super utilizer, frequent flyer, high needs. It's very much the 80-20 rule, maybe even the 90-10 rule. Like a small number of people are requiring a vast amount of resources. And so the different stakeholders in that group are, coming up with strategies and trying to, work with those people. And if you can get just one of those people housed, doing well, medicated, treated, doing well, that frees up a ton of resources. So just trying to work with that demographic to get them healthier. Christie at Natrona County Collective Health Trust reported they're working with WISAC, the Wyoming Survey and Analysis Center, to create a 5-year report on many of these individuals, putting together numbers for like how many hours they each take, because all PD is just one, part of the picture. These different these different social service groups and stakeholders, they're all interacting with these folks also. So Collective Health Trust is taking point to put some numbers to like what is the true cost of providing for these people, and can maybe money that's previously been spent for incarceration or police enforcement or other More reactionary measures? Can it be better spent maybe preventing and being more proactive so that we get better outcomes for less money? So I'm glad they're taking point on that. That's a big effort. And so I'll be interested to see what sort of data they come up with after they get done with that. DDA has published an incident log on their website for their stakeholders and other downtown merchants or property owners to report observations that maybe don't warrant a call to police department because it's not a infraction of ordinance necessarily, but things that maybe folks should be aware of or information that's helpful for decision makers like us to keep in mind as we're coming up with solutions to solve some of these things. Melissa, the executive director down there, has drafted an info flyer they're going to post around. And I recommended we post that at the parking garage because they are having issues with not only people identifying as unhoused, but also youth in our community. They know when the shift ends for the parking garage staff, and so they go in after the shift end and do nefarious things all the way until the morning when the morning shift comes in. So just trying to do what we can to mitigate that because we don't want people feeling unsafe or like the parking garage is a dangerous place to park. Everyone in the group is reporting increased food security, and so the pausing of SNAP benefits was increasing anxieties that this could only compound the existing issues. In addition to that, the lack of energy assistance programs like LEAP add to the burden that individuals and families are feeling. DFS had a pretty bleak outlook in the face of federal funding cuts, so not a super optimistic meeting, but I promised I would bring up something positive in the next one so that it's not just an hour and a half of bad news. But yeah, a lot of things not trending in the right direction, unfortunately. I wanted to thank everyone who hosted events over the weekend. Downtown Merchants on Saturday morning, the David Street Station had the Monster Mash in the afternoon. Eastridge Mall did something in the evening. Science Zone Trick or Treat Trail at the Event Center on Sunday. The weather was great. I saw lots of people out and about, and it was a very nice weekend. So thank you. Those events all require a ton of sponsorships and donors and volunteers and coordinators and people taking time out of their weekend to make sure everyone else has a good time. So appreciate everyone that was participating in any of those things. We had an Old Yellowstone District Committee meeting yesterday. We had Beth Andrus from the MPO as a guest to discuss the recent MOU we signed with the Casper mural project. That group identified utility boxes and other areas in the OID that we could wrap, like we've done the traffic boxes through the rest of town, as well as some future potential mural ideas and locations. Their board, the Casper Mural Project, has gone through quite a bit of attrition in the recent past, so they will be putting out a call for board members at some point in the near future. And so hopefully if folks that they're passionate about that cause, they throw their hat in the ring to join that board. Beth informed us that the majority of the art that you've seen done around town, all the murals and stuff, even the Better Together one, which is right there on the wall of the Atrium Plaza, a lot of people bought bricks to help sponsor that one, but even that one was 70% grant derived. So again, if they don't have a strong board to apply for and manage those grants, the art doesn't get done. So again, speaks to the need of interested and passionate folks to join that board. We agreed to move the Midwest ribbon cutting ceremony to align with the reopening of Homax. That should be here in a couple weeks. So if you're interested in seeing the new Homax and attending the ribbon cutting ceremony for Midwest Street Project, that'll be coming up. Liz and Lori presented the new holiday banners that will be hung downtown through the holiday season. Whitney at David Street reported that they had raised the nearly $500,000 for their ice chiller, and so that will be getting installed soon. Their dashers are going up right now. The ice skating season should last now through February because they don't have all those high overhead costs of leasing the equipment and stuff like that. So yeah, really glad that she was able to get that across the finish line and secure the chiller for the ice skating rink so that that's not a, that was always something the DDA was struggling with, was how do you fund that? How do you make that sustainable? So that's awesome that they got that. They're still trying to find the Christmas tree. And then Tammy at Historic Preservation Commission let us know that the holiday decoration will be coming out soon. I don't think they've publicly announced it yet, so I won't reveal who it is, but I'm excited for it and we'll pick it up. I want to keep my collection going, so that's all I got.
When did you say the ribbon cutting was?
The date's not set yet, but they're going to align it. Homax thinks they're going to be able to open here in the next couple of weeks, but it's still tentative, I believe, at this point.
So I was able to get a sneak peek, and it's going to be a very nice store.
It
Great story. So last Wednesday was the tree planting in over at Sage Park, and looked like a lot of volunteers.
Media restrictions, dude. Is this authorized?
So I attended.
Oh, all right. It's good now.
I'll leave it at that. But city staff was very evident and helpful, and they were done planning, I think, by 11:30. So went much quicker than I think Jolene had guessed. So, but and then Thursday, attended the social justice with the Health Trust at 1:00 over at the Tate Pump House, and then 3:00 was the 250th up at the Ford Wyoming Center. A lot of really good ideas. So, and there was a lot going on Friday night also, as far as senior center and local wishes fundraiser for food for thought. And then I'd just like to thank the chief. We haven't had really much policing help during trick or treat downtown, but the chief was able to get some of the community service vehicles and staff down there, and I really think it helped. It's always awkward getting across Second Street and Center Street, and kids every place, but they did have a nice turnout. So appreciated that, Chief. And Sunday, the J Foundation function, and hopefully Amber will talk more about it, but very impactful up at the sports ranch, 4 to 6, and the actual founders gave the story, which was different than I had understood it, but really a great event, and thankfully we've got a lot of great donors, and with the leadership of the McMurray Foundation and Trudy, and so that was great. Yesterday attended a meeting for at Mills, and thank you, Mayor and City Attorney, for being there. And attended last night the school board meeting. That was difficult with the closing of a lot of public comment on closing Barnum and Woods. So hopefully that rings through to the Board of Trustees and they can figure a way forward for those two schools. And then today, 11:30, had visit Casper. That lasted quite a while, and public comment was interesting. Tim Stubson was present, so I believe that helped. But in general, was a good meeting. So I think that's it. So
Thanks, Pat.
I did have one more question at some point about what kind of rate increase the city is looking at on insurance costs for health insurance for our employees. You know, with new rates coming out, which won't be foreign for the city either. I think we're currently through the state state pool, is that correct? And I think it's either Cigna or Blue Cross. Is it Cigna? So, because I'm hearing in general anywhere from 6 on those group policies, 6 to 20%. So, which would be a big hit to us.
I'm sorry, I don't have that figure, but we'll get it.
Okay. So, thank you. Sorry.
Randy.
End on bad news. You just want to end it on bad news.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about health insurance. Nobody wants to talk about health insurance. I had an opioid settlement that I was really expecting my chairman / secretary to bring up, but whatever. I'll just fly by the cuff here. We are done interviewing. We have started having conversations. We'll try to get something put together, decided, and to you guys, sounds like before December. So more to come on that. I have started the first very brief, very high level, I think is what we're calling that, 5th Sense survey questions, getting ready to start preparing to get that out, which we're going to try to do in a hurry, I guess. So. Pleasure to have you there, Ray, by the way.
Had to meet clients. I felt bad.
It's fine. We waited for
I was
hours.
in sessions and I was sitting there. My phone was blowing up in my pocket. So I had to
I
keep
don't know what you're talking
I had to keep a straight face when I was talking to my clients.
We make that weird. That's all I have.
Jenna.
All right. Well, I was at the old Yellowstone District meeting as well, and Kyle covered that thoroughly, so that's good. Also had a Chamber of Commerce meeting today at 11:30, so I wasn't at visit Casper's. But the Christmas parade registration is open, and so everybody can register your float early for the early bird. It's like $35 right now before it goes up to $50 through the chamber website, so people can get on with that. Keeping that theme, gonna request city in-kind services for the Christmas parade on this roundtable because we did not get the grant application in through Visit Casper's timeframe, which was in May. And so they missed that, and that's that impact grant that the city's partners with. Long backstory on why that wasn't, but somebody felt it wasn't needed. Didn't think we were gonna go ahead with the Christmas parade, but we are, and we need it, please. So, entertain that. Has. Otherwise, pass.
How do you want to move forward with that?
Mayor, thank you. Counselor, I would just need some details in terms of what it is that they were actually requesting.
Fleet services, in kind, like road kind services for that. Dumpsters, roadblocks, dumpsters.
We typically provide.
We do, but it's usually through that process through the grant. But because we didn't do the grant application, because that's between Visit Casper and the city now for the last few years, it's now this road
Still apply for
No.
this moment.
for next year. It's in by May, and that will happen. It's just this year got skipped over.
Absolutely, we'll look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, I don't have a lot. I attended the Homeless Coalition meeting as well. Kyle covered it pretty thoroughly. Just the only thing I would emphasize is he mentioned the downtown business group, and it was a pretty bleak meeting because the data was not good. And my hope is, like Kyle, I'm sure is, that we can find some positivity moving forward and some positive steps that coalition can make to take some action and take advantage of that powerful collaboration I think that we have available. So, I was a little, I think I mentioned this at the meeting, but I was reading it. I'm going to do some more research about it, but my Billings have a kind of a crisis response team, but it covers not just homeless individuals, but other mental health crises kind of thing. And they have it is run through their, in cooperation with their fire department. They have a vehicle, mobile unit. But it's not limited to medical emergencies. But it can cover, as I said, mental health crises and so forth. So I'm going to hopefully share that with the coalition. Maybe that will.
I know CW, and Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong, CWCC has a crisis mobile unit. I'm not sure
Yeah,
where that's at right now or
Yeah.
what they do in conjunction with that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Mayor, Counselor, they are looking to stand that up. I'm not sure exactly where it's at. I will also say that a couple years ago, through the Health Trust, through the NCSJ or whatever that they call it now, they did present a lot of information around that. That Nashville has something like that. There's several larger cities that they have these embedded in their police or fire units. So we can talk about it offline.
Yeah.
More, yes.
and I got the impression that there were, more than just the city services involved.
Yeah,
There
that's
were,
right.
I think like the community mental health, so on and so forth. Like
Yeah,
CICC.
multi-agency. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Eric.
That's all I have.
Yeah, you have anything? Anything? Great. Amber.
My two things have already been covered. I did get a chance to go to my first J event. Excited to get to see more about what that organization is up to. And then, worked with Randy to start discussions about how we engage citizen input around FISTant and that process and how we're moving ahead with that. So just began conversation there. So don't have a lot to report yet, but we're going to plan to reconvene, I think, early December with some draft work. So trying to get ahead of that so that we can be prepared and get a robust participation as we go through that process.
Thanks, Amber. Vice Mayor.
Nothing exciting. I get to go to Burger King's grand opening on Friday. I'll eat a few Whoppers for you.
Dang,
Unless
all
anybody
right.
else is going.
I couldn't make it,
I
so
saw
I
the invitation.
handed it off. Said, hey, can you go to Burger King?
It'll be fun.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that.
Certainly.
Appreciate that. I don't have anything. I'm doing a welcoming to the Wyoming Water Association conference this Thursday, so I'll be doing that, welcoming them. And I've several different speaking engagements next week, but I'll report on that on Tuesday. So that's all I've got.
Pat said you need to mention us reaching or being a safe city.
Yeah,
Oh,
number
yeah, we're
6.
safe.
Oh yeah, we're a safe city. Yeah, so we've got,
Quoted you.
what's that?
They quoted you.
Yes, and so, yeah, I guess I should. Yes, it was nice. Sorry, media releases go out. I review it. I look at them.
Auto pen.
How dare you? How dare you suggest I use an auto pen? Nobody's gonna put that in the press, right? No. Yes, and so press release came out about being a safe city, so which is a really cool thing that we had the opportunity to have, and I think that's something that we should embrace and be proud of. So, thanks, Pat. Appreciate that. Kyle, did you whisper to Kyle though?
I totally spaced it.
I think that's all I've got. All right, let's move into our special meeting. I now call the October 28, 2025 special council meeting to order. All members are present. A notice of an executive session to take place at this date and during this meeting was given. We have matters to discuss regarding attorney-client privilege and litigation matters. Therefore, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn into an executive session, and at the conclusion of that executive session to reconvene the special meeting solely for the purposes of adjournment of this special meeting.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Pollock. There are a majority of members present, and a motion to adjourn into an executive session has been moved and seconded. The motion requires a 2/3 majority of the council present. Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye, say aye. Motion passes. A greater than 2/3 majority of the council present voted in favor of the motion. We are hereby adjourned to an executive session.